What is going on, Play Gang? It's your man Micah back with another video. Back here to talk about Thor Love and Thunder. I already did that review reaction. Thor Love and Thunder. And yes, before we get into that, those who are new, those who have been here for a little bit, as you guys see, the channel is now called Micah Plays. I have went through a revelation about how I want to kind of run my channel, and I'm still going to be completely cool with y'all calling me V, Versatile, Verse, whatever, Versatile Plays, VP. But my real name is Micah, so I'm embracing that with YouTube and with a lot of my platforms now with Micah Plays, and my main channel is now Micah Woods as opposed to Versatile Productions. That's still like my business name. I'm just gonna rock me now under that. So don't freak out, still the same channel, just a different name. Now let's get into the Thor Love and Thunder review reaction. Just saw it last night. I've only saw it once, and yes, many people's meh and mid critiques of this movie is pretty sound, pretty spot on. It actually kind of helped me temper my expectations going into the movie, and yes, right off the bat, as soon as it opens up, it's just gung-ho comedy. Bow, 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 bow. Interestingly enough, I found that maybe 50%, if I had to be very gracious, I would say maybe 65 to 70% actually hit, which isn't bad. You could tell that some things were cut out because it ended up being an hour and 59 minutes. This movie definitely probably should have been 2 hours and 10, 2 hours and 15 minutes, but they cut out, I'm sure they cut out quite a lot. Interesting movie. Right off the bat, I loved Christian Bale. I loved his portrayal, his performance of Gore. That was just utterly beautiful. The problem was he just wasn't in it enough. I think that was one of the things that I was having problems with, was they didn't really capitalize on having Christian Bale in the MCU, using him as a villain. And then I don't like this thing that Marvel's trying to do. Yes, there will be spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet, you can back out now. If you don't mind spoilers, continue. We're continuing with spoilers right now. I don't like how Marvel is trying to constantly try to redeem the villains, because it kind of takes the essence of the bad out of the movie. You need that drama, and you need that to stay consistent throughout the movie, and I don't like that we keep trying to redeem villains. I would like for the villain to be the villain, you know, like that's what it should be. So I don't like how they ended it from that perspective, but I do still kind of like the resolution that came out of it for Thor, unfortunately. But for the story's sake and for Thor's journey, it had to happen. We know that Jane Foster does indeed die because of cancer. Her portrayal of Thor was cool. I will say it was kind of, you know, she felt like she had to kind of represent herself in a different way as Thor. And action wise, her being Thor, what they did with Mjolnir and her ability to use the pieces of Mjolnir and how it assembled back together, I love that aspect. Her portrayal as Thor outside of action was a little up and down, just because you have the actual Thor there, and then you have Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie there, and then you're like, well, where does Jane Foster's Thor fit in all this? And she's brand new, so she's trying to figure things out. So there's some level of justification there, but it kind of ran into some walls from time to time. Also, their relationship, we know that they had a relationship, and they kind of tried to justify how deep their relationship was by giving us flashbacks of their relationship that we haven't seen before in this movie. But I don't think that was enough to sell the hurt between the two breaking up, you know, right before Infinity War-ish, I believe, Ragnarok. So that was kind of tough as well, because, you know, we know that they had a relationship, and Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth have great chemistry on screen for sure. It's just that, you know, we needed that actual element of like, oh no, they've been in a serious relationship, and it seems like they've just had serious run-ins with each other as opposed to a full-fledged relationship. So that also kind of dampened their relationship. They still had very touching moments in this, though. It's just, it didn't sell as hard because the relationship that Taika tried to develop in this movie to make up for the past movies just didn't quite hit the way it should have. Korg, we got too much Korg in this, and I think the comedy just kind of started going a little too much over the top. I was watching Tyrone Magnus's review, and I understand what he means by some of the woke behavior that we saw in this. It wasn't necessarily jarring, but it did in ways feel unnecessary, but it didn't stand in the way of the overall momentum for Thor Love and Thunder. So I will put that out there. And I do like the fact that Jane is as strong of a Thor, probably slightly weaker just because she's inexperienced and isn't the actual Thor, but she is still as powerful as Thor Odinson. And so towards the end, her helping him wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I like that. The only problem I ran into is it seems like Thor was holding back in a way. It felt like he was holding back because there was moments in this way he seemed like he was about to challenge the gods, right? And he was able to challenge Zeus. And you know, when he initially ran into the fight with Thor in the very beginning, when Gore came to New Asgard, it looked like Thor was gonna tear him up. But then at the very end, when they fight, he's losing. So I'm like, okay, we're being inconsistent with Thor's power set, because he's supposed to be all strong and ratata, and very much could have taken out Thanos in Infinity War. But then he can't handle this dude with the Necro Sword, in which he seemed like he was handling him, but then because we need the story, we're gonna suppress some of his power. So I think Marvel or the MCU is gonna start running in, which they are already running into this problem with Captain Marvel. We're gonna start running into this problem of all powerful heroes, and how do we fit them into a grounded story? That's where like the Man of Steel was really good, because Superman is very strong, but how do you ground him in that? And so Man of Steel was really good at that, whereas MCU is still trying to figure out how to deal with that aspect of heroism as being ultra powerful. And this is where we're going to need more ultra powerful villains, and Gore could have kind of been that, but we didn't get a lot of Gore doing what he was supposed to do, which was taking out these gods. So that was an aspect of Gore that we were missing, that also could have built his power level up to then show like Thor may have a little bit of a problem with Gore. Bars. So that was kind of muddy to me. Overall, I still feel like it was a good movie. It was fine, but it was not as great as we've seen what Marvel Studios can do with their heroes. I did still like Tessa Thompson. I love the I love that we're continuing the Ragnarok stage play of all the Thor events, and we're bringing back Matt Damon, another Hemsworth brother, Jurassic Park archaeologist dude. I love that we're keeping them in this to tell the stage play story of Thor's life and whatnot. That was pretty cool. I like that. And then like they're still fixated on this play, even though this crazy dude just came with shadow monsters and just took all the children. They're still fixated on telling a play. Which reminds me, the whole children aspect to lure Thor out to the Shadow Realm, which the Shadow Realm place was super dope. The fight there and the way they used cinematography to show how small and how the depth in which this planet had was really nothing. And so it was also funny, but also uniquely amazing to see the unnecessary goats run straight into the planet instead of, you know, landing on it, and how they could pretty much kind of walk around the planet. Like that was absolutely amazing. It was basically like them landing on a crater. I love that aspect. It was also funny. But not to digress any further, the children aspect I liked. Could have been a plot tool, you know, a MacGuffin, so to speak, but like in a different way. Heimdall having a son, Astrid, who has similar powers to him, of course, which is super cool. Hopefully he develops into something cool, but wasn't necessary. Using Thor to try to build up the kids' faith and not, you know, try to help them not be as scared. They kept trying to be uber funny with it, and it didn't really work. It kind of took the momentum out of those scenes, and then the gore scene where Astrid was trying to build up the kids too by like, Thanos was taken out by Thor, he's gonna save us, and then it kind of linked back to the you should have aimed for the head running joke with Thor. And Gore comes in and tells his own story with this ant creature he has, and then does something with the head to scare the children, but you didn't know if it was supposed to be funny or not. You saw the kids kind of audibly like, oh, but you didn't know if it was actually supposed to be funny or not. But the way Christian Bale did it was also uniquely very good, because he was like, well, I thought this was y'all like, now y'all don't like it, what? So it was very cool, but then like it just seemed like he didn't even really have to take the kids. Fast forward to the end where Thor basically temporarily imbues them with some thunderous lightning powers to kind of deal with the shadow monsters. Slightly corny, but very cute, very adorable, but then also like kind of very cool to see these kids just kind of go in. So that was cool. Yeah, overall 6.5, 7 out of 10. That's what I'm giving it. I would say like the element of surprise with comedy and humor is no longer there because we got Ragnarok, but then Taika doubled down and did even more, which ultimately worked against what it was trying to do, because it seemed like it was uber funny and then slowly started trying to get more serious. But then even in those serious moments, it kind of would overlap with some humor that would kind of detract from the seriousness. So that you had that aspect, and then of course with Jane Foster, of course, as she used Mjolnir and Thor's powers, it negated her body's ability to fight cancer, and in fact accelerated the cancer, which is why she ends up dying. So I like that aspect of it there, and she ends up in Valhalla with Heimdall and all them. In the comics, Jane Foster comes back as Valkyrie, so we'll see if they play with that in the MCU. The mid-credit scene, which was amazing, Hercules is here, so that's going to be interesting. I guess in the comics, Thor and Hercules have frequent run-ins, but not so much as like fighting each other, I guess, but then also kind of fighting each other. So it's interesting getting that element added to the MCU, and I can't wait to see what happens there. But overall, the movie was fine. Candace was like, the humor hit like 50. I think she almost said 30% of the time. She was so done with the humor already. Like 5 seconds into the movie, she's like, I see what they were talking about. Yeah, so she was not pleased by it. She was about ready to give it like a 5.5, 6 out of 10. I gave it a point more just because I really appreciated the cinematic moments of the fight scenes, the Necro Sword, Gore, Christian Bale. Chris Hemsworth still did his thing. Him getting a niece/daughter named Love, who now embodies basically eternity, so she has like unique powers herself, which you got to see hinted at the very end of the movie with her shooting like laser beams at Thor. But then they go out and the school session is them taking out a bunch of monsters, which also kind of looks like they're on a different planet as well. So he's really training her to be really, really good. So I wonder if they're gonna play with a time skip for Love and for the rest of the kids from New Asgard. It will be interesting to see if they do that. But overall, my feeling leaving this movie, I felt like, I don't want to say underwhelmed. It just felt like there was something really missing, and I was like borderline empty, because I was really thinking about like, man, I was just trying to find something to put my finger on, but there was nothing really there. So unfortunately, this movie wasn't as good as it could have been, and I wonder if that's again a pandemic thing that affected this movie. And I think Black Panther 2 may be one of the last pieces of content we get from Marvel Studios that will likewise probably suffer from some pandemic-y. I think going into next year, content-wise, both additional seasons of TV shows and movies, we're gonna start getting much better quality, well put together stories and movies and TV seasons and series. I truly believe that, because I think a lot of the stuff that we got was just like stuff that was sat on, stuff that had to be revised and changed because of the pandemic and couldn't get people here and there. Like Doctor Strange was supposed to be at the end of WandaVision, but because of the pandemic, he couldn't be. So you have elements of that. I think Loki also was edited due to the pandemic. What If was cut down like an episode or 3 or something like that due to the pandemic. Like everything, pandemic. I think even Multiverse of Madness was cut down due to the pandemic. So we're starting to get out of that phase and enter into non-pandemic based content, and that's what I'm most excited for. So I'm definitely resonating in the 6.5 to 7 out of 10 range for this movie. Call it a 6.75 out of 10 or whatever. Yeah, I go with that. 6.75 out of 10. I still do want to see it again just to kind of pay attention to other things and really solidify the 6.5 or 7. I probably will lean more towards a 6.5 if I see it a second time, like no joke. But like the hope within me wants to give it a 7 just because there was elements that I really liked, and I like the MCU. So like that's what really wants to push it to a 7, but I'm trying to be really honest and be like, it's like 6.5, 7, because I was really kind of eyeballing some of the humor, some of the comedic moments or efforts, and it was like, that ain't it, Chief. That ain't it. But let me know down in the comment section below if you guys seen Thor: Love and Thunder. If you've seen it, you plan on seeing it. Where do you think we are in the state of the MCU right now? Let me know down in the comments your thoughts below. But again, as always, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys ignite the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know my videos on my live stream, so we can sit back, see what's cracking. And when you ignite that like button, make sure you comment on the videos and you chat in the live chat during the streams. When you do that, that tells YouTube that the videos are being watched and engaged with, and YouTube will push the stuff out to other people so that way we can continue to build Play Gang. So if you guys can do that for me and do that for YouTube, we would be definitely appreciative. But your man Micah signing out, and until the next video or live stream, wait for it and keep it gaming.